Okay, here I'm going to talk to you today about tools. Okay, and our body is made up of bones, and muscles, and ligaments, and joints, and organs, and what have you. We're basically going to talk about the bones. The bones are the tools, and the tools are levers. Okay, we've talked before about the three ways that the body makes force: push, pull, and torque. Okay, but the truth of the matter is all our joints are only torque makers. That's what they do. And what we do is we add two torques together to form push or pull. Okay, so when I'm pushing, my shoulder and my elbow are working together. When I'm pulling, same thing. Okay, they're both muscles contract. They don't forcibly expand. They expand, but they're not generating force. They only generate force when they contract. Okay, so my arm's contracted. Now, we're all of our tools in our body, okay, are third class or class 3 levers, except for there's a couple of class 2 levers, and then we have a skill where we do use some class 2 levers, but I've covered that before. I don't want to cover it again. But what I want to talk about is first identifying what torque actually is. I've got a little prop here. What this is about, oh, it's about 12 pounds. Okay, it's a chain, a couple pound chain with a 10-pound plate on it. When I hold this thing over my head like so, okay, I am stressing this joint. Okay, I'm actually stressing my whole body, and you can see that gravity is pulling the chain straight down, which is good for demonstration purposes. But right here, when I put my arm straight in the air, I have zero torque. Okay, zero. Okay, when I hold my arm at 90 degrees, okay, it's about 2 feet long. Okay, the gravity, the weight's the same, the gravity's the same, the muscle's the same, the arm's the same, but I'm generating maximum torque. And torque, again, is when a tool moves in a circle and creates twisting force. Okay, so I'm using my arm and using gravity as the input of force to torque my shoulder. Okay, now when I hold my shoulder up or hold my hand up here, okay, believe it or not, there's less torque because when force is acting on this lever arm, okay, at 90 degrees, which you can see the chain is about 90 degrees, okay, that's maximum torque. Here it's more like 45 degrees. It's some fraction of torque. And what's interesting is, whatever that distance is, okay, let's just measure it, okay. I don't know, the distance from that chain to that weight is about 12 inches. If I hold my arm at 12 inches away by bending it, okay, I've created a tool that allows me to hold this weight, which hasn't changed. This muscle hasn't changed, but the shape of my arm has changed, and it allows me to use less force. And to accelerate this weight, okay, I can accelerate it faster using my maximum force, okay, because that arm, for the most part, instead of being 2 feet long, is only about a foot long, okay. It requires, now I'm generating torque, and it requires less force on my part to overcome the force of gravity, okay. If I go like this, okay, and hold that thing at 2 feet, it's a fraction of that. If I go like this, it's a fraction of that, okay. That right there is less torque on me than that. And if I want to pull this weight up, it takes less force for me to do so, okay. So with that in mind, we know that our upper body is the most articulate thing that we have. We can elbows in, elbows out, overhead, out, and down here like this, all this. We can pronate and supinate our wrists. And what we've discovered is that we can apply our hands to the blocking surface of an opponent a lot easier than we can our head, which is somewhat articulate, but not for the most part. Basically, you can only push with your head. Okay, you can't pull with your head. You can't torque with your head. You might be able to, I don't know. And your shoulder is basically just something to push with. Okay, you can't do very much with it. But your hands, you can do quite a bit. What I'm saying to you is, here, this position right here requires an awful lot of strength to put any force. Like you're using your arm as a club, even if you're using your torso, you're you're not, you know, now that hand's moving pretty fast, but it takes a while to get it accelerated. Plus, I don't know if you notice this or not, you're exposed. Okay, you've exposed yourself. Okay, when you club, we don't club, we don't teach it anymore. Okay, we actually have a couple of things that we teach, and these are the tools that we actually use. One, we grab. Okay, we keep our elbows. We can straighten them or whatever, but we grab. Okay, and what we're doing here is we're co-contracting the elbow, and we're using the shoulder as the muscle. And you know, we talk about a kinetic chain. Well, the biggest muscles in the kinetic chain in the human body is a big link with small links all the way to the fingers, which are the smallest link. Okay, so what you have to do at times is put the smaller links into an advantageous position. Well, this is pretty advantageous. Okay, I can grab somebody like this and jack them up. I can flip them. Okay, which we've talked about ad nauseum. Okay, the next thing that we do is we make a hook. Now we co-contract or lock our shoulders and our elbows, and we use our hips to generate force. Okay, so we're not generating force with this. We're certainly not generating force with this. We're generating force with our hips, and we're using these things as solid locked up joints. Okay. The next thing we do is we use, instead of a hooked elbow, we use a hooked elbow out. Okay, and we use our yoke, our hips, and our diagonal antagonists. Okay, in a synchronization to create an acceleration. Okay, so for example, I can use my arm just to throw a baseball, or I can really throw a baseball by stepping into it. But the baseball doesn't have very much mass. If I'm going to accelerate a shot put, I don't throw a shot put. Okay, I don't even step into it and throw it. What I do is I start the acceleration with my arms hooked. Okay, and once I get that momentum going, I extend. Okay, so as I extend, speed increases, and I'm adding to a momentum that I've already started with this acceleration. I start with a very short arm, and I go to a very long arm. Okay, as long as I can get it. Right, I can even add a little bit of gravity by bending the knee. Okay, but basically, it's a hook. I start with a hook, I lock the shoulder, and I go. Now, the next thing we do is a stick. Now, the stick, in boxing terms, it would be a jab. And let me, before I even talk about that, let me talk about the stop sign. The stop sign is sort of like it's not quite a 90, it's not locked out, it's sort of in between. And what we're doing is we're just keeping one hand up so that we can jab, and the other hand stays more hooked. And we call this mixed hands, okay? And we can very easily articulate the hands, change them around, grab, we can hook, we can do that, we can do this. And what we do is we try to time this, so we want to, again, these are the weaker muscles, these are the stronger muscles, these are the strongest muscles. But what we want to do when we jab is we want to pull the shoulder back, extend the arm. We also want to lower our body so the length of our body is shorter and it requires less strength or more resistance to get us knocked over. And we pull and push at the same time and jab. Okay, jab. We pull the elbow. If you look at me, I'm pulling this with my lat and I'm pushing this with my abdominals. Okay, and I'm just adding to a momentum that I've already started. I'm not doing this. This is not how you jab. This is how you jab. Okay, we do that quite a bit. we're making a stick. We don't want to jab like this because the stick is broken and it's short. Okay, boom. Now the third thing, or the next thing we do is two-hand push or shove. We call this the hammer, and we make a W with our thumbs, and we do this. And what we're doing there is we're doubling up our hands. Okay, but we're trying to keep translated in this direction. And what we do is we lunge. Okay? And if you watch the next video, I'll talk about the front leg being the gator leg, like an alligator. And we lower our body. Okay, this leg, if I step back a little bit, let me change this for a little bit here. Okay, this is more of a full body thing. Okay, when we go to step with that gator leg, the alligator leg, and we lunge, okay, what we're doing now is we're using the front of our torso and that lunge, and we're lowering ourselves, and we're using gravity over this fulcrum, the back foot. So it's just like a sword fighter. Woo. Okay, woo. Okay, and we're starting the momentum, we're starting to accelerate and adding to it. That's the hammer, and it keeps us square. Okay, it turns the turret without turning the tank. Right? So those are the tools that we have. Once again, okay, we grab, we hook, okay, we jab, and we hammer. We don't club because number one, it exposes us. Number two, it's too hard to accelerate the hand, and we'll shatter the hand. Okay, we shatter the arm. Now you might, when you get these guys in bar fights and they swing like that, okay, we want to develop skills so that we don't do that. Okay, we want to have skill for this is, bar fighting, little rascals. Okay, and I've been in more of these than I've been in these. Trust me, I haven't been in any of these. But this, it's a skill. This is just effort. And it requires a lot of strength. Okay, and again, we want to make ourselves short. And if you watch the next video, I'll explain the lower body tools. That's it.